Hey, what is up guys? Guitar Rock here, welcome back to another Blue Archive video. So for those of you who are not aware, we literally have the Fast banner coming tomorrow as of the time I'm recording this video. So hopefully in this particular video, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what is going to be the best character for you to pick for the Fast banner. I mean, you can't really pick them, but if you're looking to reroll, then that's going to be the one, right? So today is going to be the last day for the 100 free pulls. As you can see, make sure you guys use up all of these two banners, you know, Swimsuit Seiya and Swimsuit Hasumi. They'll be going away, getting replaced by the Fast banner. Now, in my opinion, the Fast banner is going to be the one that you want to reroll for if you're looking to basically get a head start in the game, because quite a number of the characters, or students rather, are rather crucial into the meta gameplay. So for those of you who are not aware, the Fast banner is basically the 6% banner, and that's going to be something that occurs every 6 months. 6%! And this is going to be very unique because you are going to be able to pull the previous Fast students as well. So all these previous Fast students are going to be available in this particular banner. Now currently, right now, there are a total of 11 Fast students in the game. Now including the two upcoming new ones, which is Swimsuit Mika and Swimsuit Nagisa, we got Dress Hina, Swimsuit Hanako, Rio, School Uniform Neru, Mika, Shiroko Terror, Arm Hoshino, Swimsuit Hoshino, and last but not least, Wakamo. So as you can see, there's quite a number of Fast students available right now. Now all of them are definitely strong in their own rights, but who should you actually get if you are a new player or you're starting up? Now obviously I'm going to try to break down all the skill kit of these Fast students to give you guys a better idea, but generally they are going to be the priority in terms of who is going to be the better one. Now currently there are 4 elements in the game, and that's going to be Sonic, Explosive, Mystic, and Piercing. So each of these elements are going to be represented by a color. So Sonic is going to be purple, right? And Mika is going to be a single target purple type DPS character. So that's going to be what it is for Swimsuit Mika. And Swimsuit Nagisa is going to be a support. So ideally, if you guys are not aware already, how Blue Archive works is generally in most endgame contents in the game, you are going to be able to borrow or use your club members or your friends' student. So basically, it's going to be way easier in most cases to try to borrow a DPS character, because generally DPS students needs more investment, right, in terms of the stars, in terms of getting their stats up, in terms of the gears, and there's going to be plenty of things that it's going to be harder for you to maximize as a new player. So the advice generally is to always lean towards the support students in the game. And Swimsuit Nagisa is going to be one of those. Now Swimsuit Mika, she is very, very strong. Alright, she's going to be one of the strongest single target Sonic type character. But like I said, you can pretty much try to borrow or use someone else's one if you ever need her in raids, right? This is going to be a much more cheaper approach so that you're not so taxed on resources in terms of building plenty of students. Now as you can see, if you guys are not aware already, she's a single target. She does 1571% damage to one enemy. And then when in rapid fire stance, she can redraw the EX skill, right? And of course, the cost goes up the more time you use the EX skill. So she has a very unique mechanic which allows her to use this EX skill on herself. This is going to basically reset the entire thing, right? So it basically just changed the cost effect back to the default one. So it's going to be much cheaper for sure, but for cost, that's going to be how it is. And she also has the ability to increase her sonic efficiency by 60%. Alright, that's quite high right there. And then increase normal attack firing range by 21%. And last but not least, sonic efficiency increased by 49%. And all her attacks are guaranteed to be critical hits, which makes Mika quite important in a lot of upcoming raids if you ever need to tackle any Sonic type Grand Assault and such, right? Now, I do think that she is probably going to be staple, probably not going to be replaceable until a while. At the time of me recording this video, the Fast JP is not available yet, so it is going to be available next month. So I have no idea who is coming later, so that's going to be something that we'll have to wait and see. But for the time being, she is probably one of the best single target purple DPS you can obtain. Now, how about Swimsuit Nagisa? Swimsuit Nagisa is going to be unique. She's a supporter, so her element doesn't matter as much. So all she does right here is she gives you one unique mechanic called the ally cost over, and then she gives you critical damage increase by 78%. So that's almost 80%, right? So for 3 costs, that's pretty good. Now what is the cost over thing, right? This is going to be something that's very unique for the time being to Swimsuit Nagisa. Basically, to activate a skill in this particular game, you're gonna need a cost, right? If an EX skill is 3 costs, you gotta have 3 costs before you're able to activate them. But with Swimsuit Nagisa, now you no longer have to do that because you can basically just consume the excess that you don't have, and then it will convert it into negative, right? Up to 5 costs. So this is going to open up plenty of strategies for sure. Very, very strong, especially with somebody like Dress Hina, right? There's going to be some special synergy right there for sure. She also, will be able to reduce enemies' critical damage resistance. This is going to be very, very helpful, especially you're fighting against boss. And since she's going to give you crit damage, reducing enemies' critical resistance basically like amplifies her buffs, right? Critical damage increased by 26% at the passive skill, and the sub skill is going to be a 17.3% increase for everyone. So she's going to be a very solid choice. If you're starting out, definitely I would say Swimsuit Nagisa is probably going to be a little bit better than Swimsuit Mika if you are able to leverage or take advantage of the ability to borrow your friend's students. But how about the rest of the fast characters in the game? Let's start from the least, in my opinion, the least important one. And right now, even though they are all really, really good, I think there are some of them that are just straight up going to be less useful for a new player. And I think right now, School Uniform Neru is probably going to be in that category. Now, I think she's a very strong character for endgame player, and in fact, if you're trying to tackle a lot of Total Assault and Grand Assault, she's probably going to be the one that I would recommend you to try to get. But if you're a new player starting out, School Uniform Neru is probably going to be one of the harder choices to recommend. She excels primarily in single target against bosses, and she's one of the strongest one as well, competing with Mika as well, right? Talking about the default Mika, not the Swimsuit Mika, right? So we have 2 characters right there in that particular category. So she basically enters this state to enter the duel, and then she is going to be able to use this particular AX skill. It accumulates a spirit. It's going to be very, very good in that particular instance. Now, piercing effectiveness is going to be very, very good, 60% for her, and then she also can improve her normal attack range and of course attack right there. And you can see increases damage dealt by 24%. Now for me, every time I need a School Uniform Neru, I will end up borrowing somebody else's one, so I haven't had a need to build my own one yet, but that's not to deny that she is definitely going to be one of the better students as well. Right now, if you're looking to basically tackle any like single target piercing content or yellow raids, that's where she shines. Alright, she is going to be one of the top 2 right there, competing with the other student, which is going to be Mika. Now, Mika is going to be one of the earlier students that we have had in Blue Archive. She's definitely one of the strongest one. In my opinion, if you have a fully built Mika, you can sort of get away with not having School Uniform Neru. They both almost do the same thing, right? If you're trying to just tackle single target piercing, or in this case, single target yellow raids. So Mika is going to be a little bit more expensive. However, if you have characters like Seiya, not Swimsuit Seiya by the way, the default Seiya, and of course New Year Fuuka, is going to help Mika a lot because you can reduce her cost from 6 to 3, right? And then she's going to be able to apply this 1540% damage. Now in some instances, Mika is going to be able to do more damage just because she has the guaranteed crits, and that's going to be something that you'll notice occasionally, right? So it depends on the boss that you're fighting as well, if they have high resistance or not to critical damage, right? So she also has the basic skill that can activate the Call of the Stars, and she has an enhanced skill that increases piercing effectiveness and increase the attack. So I do think that if you have Mika, School Uniform Neru shouldn't be your target. They both compete amongst each other. Ideally, you want to have both in a perfect world, but if you have to choose, obviously just go with either one and then just build one, because resources are not unlimited in this particular game. So hopefully that's going to be one thing to consider, right? Now, when it comes to a character like Dress Hina, this is where things gets really interesting. Now keep in mind, Dress Hina is going to be one of the few that you can spark in the particular fest this time around. Now the truth is, Mika has competition with Uniform Neru, but Dress Hina has 0 competition right now. She's the strongest single target character in the raid bosses, right? So basically explosive category, and that's going to make her shines even more, in my opinion, because there's no competition. She's not even in a lot of situations, in a lot of raids, like for example Kaiten, Gregorius, you're pretty much just going to use her, right? Sure, there's a lot of other students that are less meta that you can basically use, but considering that she's a meta student, obviously she is insanely strong. Now she is going to be very unique, right? How it works is, for her specifically, when you activate her skill for this 6 cost, she enters a stance. Now in this particular stance, you can then fire 3 more shots, and that's going to be what you are going to be doing. Alright, these 3 shots are going to be 0 cost. So basically she do 6 cost, and then she enters these 3 stands of 0 cost. That's what makes certain character works really well with her, or doesn't, right? For example, like characters that do reduce half cost like Seiya or Ui doesn't work too well with her because she doesn't cycle her cost that way. But characters like I think Swimsuit Nagisa is going to work really well with Dress Hina right here. She also has explosive effectiveness, alright, 64% right here, and of course accuracy as well. And then she increased attack, crit, and also both stats right there by 16.2%. Her sub skill is going to give her even more explosive effectiveness. Right now, Dress Hina is by far the strongest explosive character or raid in the game. Alright, if you're looking to just get one, you get Dress Hina. So obviously, no competition, so she is going to be a very good one. Now with that, let's talk about the 3 other ones, and that is going to be Wakamo, Shiroko Terror, and Hoshino Arm. Now I feel like this is going to be a very weird one. So we have 3 of these characters which are fast students, but they are sort of competing with each other because of the element. So Wakamo is going to be a very unique one. So her role mostly lies in doing single target damage, but she basically stacks the damage right here, and you can see accumulates damage to the target by allies for 10 seconds, and then deals mystic type damage in an explosion, right? So that there's this accumulative damage that you can basically do, and that's going to mark the enemy to basically get this explosive damage after 10 seconds, right? This one is going to be capped, however, of 1300% of Wakamo's attack right there. Her basic skill, alright, she is going to be able to do lots of attack right here to the enemy, and right here you can see she's gonna have a lot of boost to her attack, and her sub skill, very good right here, is gonna make her one of the best students to basically deal damage to bosses. So she's going to be one of the main DPS in most cases when you're tackling a lot of the blue raids, either a Gauss or even like Shirokuro, right? She also got buff recently with her unique equipment, which makes her a beast. Alright, so this is going to be what it is. Unique equipment in this game is pretty much free. All you gotta do is just enhance them and just power them up, and it gives you such a big boost. Wakamo used to be like kind of not that strong last time, but that has pushed her up a little bit after the unique equipment buff. She has gotten really strong. So right now she's probably one of the strongest single target DPS character in the game. However, there's one more character that sort of competes with her, and that's going to be Shiroko Terror. Now Shiroko Terror is a little bit weird. She's a character that's also a single target, alright, somewhat, but she doesn't activate based upon EX skill. She activates more upon her basic skill. So what do I mean by that? You can see her EX skill basically puts her in this stance, and she will summon a drone that do damage over time, right? It is going to increase her crit rate and crit damage, alright, and then of course deals 20% of max HP as damage to self, which is going to be very interesting. Now what makes her shine is going to be her basic skill. You can see right here it does damage to the enemy every 40 seconds, and then you can see right here she also has this basic skill where she will be able to do damage every time the EX skill is used. Now because she's a basic skill focused DPS character, she's very strong in Final Restriction. However, for Final Restriction specifically, that's much more for, you know, super endgame players, right? So if you are a beginner, you shouldn't worry about that too much. There's not much gems to be obtained right there. Mostly it's just resources to power up your other characters generally. Her enhanced skill is going to be 26.6% increase in attack, but what makes her kind of unique and what makes her kind of like a very interesting characters out of all the fast students to pull is going to be her sub skill. Now this sub skill is going to make it or break it if you care about PvP. Now you can see right here, increased mystic effectiveness by 49.2%. Shiroko Terror gets 15 seconds of second wind when HP reaches 1% or lower. So she has this mechanic where she reaches below 1% HP, she will have like 15 seconds of a timer before she actually retreats from the battlefield. But if she gets healed, then she stays there, right? She stays there and continues fighting for you. Now that's going to make her very strong in PvP. And in fact, she's going to be perhaps the best fast student if you care about PvP. All the other fast students, I think they are okay in PvP. Actually, there's one more. But Shiroko Terror, in my opinion, she is probably going to be staple in PvP for a while just because of this unique mechanic. Now, in terms of damage, you ideally don't use her to compete with Wakamo directly. You use her together with Wakamo. They both complement each other. So currently, right now, that seems to be the strategy in a lot of situations, right? So both are going to be single target focused or single target oriented. And that's where Arm Hoshino comes in with the AoE situation, right, for the blue raids. So she is going to be a very unique one. So Arm Hoshino is going to be the first student in the game. It's, as far as I'm aware, they has 2 stances. So that means you can swap the before you enter battle. So this is going to be the first stance. This is going to be the second stance. It is going to modify her skills according to the stance. So let's talk about this particular one first. The one that she basically uses the weapon, alright, as opposed to the shield. This is going to be where you're using her in Zilla. Alright, so she is going to do an EX skill of 6 cost. She does massive damage in the circular area. Pretty insane. She also deals additional damage to one enemy when the quick load ammo count reaches 0 again. Now her enhanced skill basically just give more attack and of course a little bit range and crit damage. But her sub skill is what makes her kind of deadly, right? She has an ability. She's one of the few characters in the game that can ignore defense. Alright, this is quite a lot. 85% of defense ignore. For the first EX or basic skill use, reloads instantly. And the first normal attack deals 150% of attack as damage to enemies in a fan-shaped area. Alright, this is going to make Arm Hoshino one of the most formidable student in terms of AoE for blue, right? Now, obviously, if you are looking to play like in story and stuff, you can get away with using Nyuya Musuki. You can use something like Chisei. But once you go to end game, if you're trying to tackle a lot of the harder contents, that's where Arm Hoshino shines specifically. I feel like she's great, but I wouldn't recommend her for new players as well because very, very complex. She has 2 different stances. The other stance is going to make her a defender that you can basically move her around. This is also very much used in end game, but you're not going to use this in early game. Alright, so as you can see, she's a 4-cost character right here. She moves to a target location, she raises a shield, and she gives herself the cover, right? And this cover basically can absorb a little bit of max HP from Arm Hoshino. She also has a basic skill right here that gives you the bulletproof plate, reduce damage taken, and then that's going to be what it is. Her enhanced skill give her attack and HP. You can see definitely much more tankiness right here. Increase both stats by 16.2%. And last but not least, the sub skill has a 20% chance to decrease defense by 19.3% when attacking. So this makes her a very good character. Even in defensive stance, you are able to use her to basically debuff the bosses. Alright, decreased defense is quite valuable in this particular game. So again, Arm Hoshino, very, very unique. I doubt she's going to get replaced soon. Even if she gets replaced one day, there's a chance that because she has 2 stands, you can swap to her other stands and basically use her that way, right? But right now, she's going to be one of the more prominent students to obtain for Zilla, which is going to be the raid boss that's focused on blue AoE. She's also used in Kurokage as well for over there, for the blue one, for Grand Assault. But definitely plenty of situation where you can use her for sure. So the blue one is going to be quite stacked right now. We do have 3 students in that category. Now, the last 3 students that I'm going to mention is going to be the strongest fast students in my opinion. Right now, all of the fast students in this game are actually really, really strong, but you can see they sort of compete amongst each other in terms of the category, and what makes a character strong usually is going to be how unique they are and how many competition are there in that same category. And that's where, in my opinion, what makes Swimsuit Hoshino extremely unique is going to be just her cut above the rest, right? She is going to be one of the best one right now if you are starting out because she is unbeatable in terms of her value generally. What Swimsuit Hoshino does is she's much more of a supporter that tanks for you. So she's a defender slash supporter as opposed to a DPS character, right? So she basically opens up this area of water around her, and if you manage to obtain allies within those areas, it is going to give you 38% increased attack, and of course additional buffs including the explosive effectiveness by 99%. It sounds like alright, right? So you get some attack percent buff. Okay, if you're fighting against raid enemies, you get the explosive effectiveness. That's cool and all, But what makes her strong is not going to be this particular one. It's going to be when you activate this, she gets insane cost recovery while her EX skill is active. So that means you are going to be able to spam your skills more often. You are going to be able to, shoot more things, activate more buffs, etc, or debuffs, right? So it is going to help you a ton, right? 684 while having the EX skill is insane. All right, it's pretty long duration as well. Right here you can see for 50 seconds. So every 50 seconds you're going to get increased cost recovery of 684. That is a lot. All right, so in a rotation, in a raid, this is going to be the most important thing. As long as you have more cost recovery, you are able to spam more skills. So it doesn't matter if you have a less strong character, she is going to be able to help you elevate that, right? Now her basic skill is whatever, right? It just basically does damage. Again, she's not going to be there to do damage mostly. And it also recovers HP, 97% of healing. Now that one is not bad. Now the enhanced skill right here, increase defense and attack, alright? And also further increase them by a certain percent. Now all in all, Swimsuit Hoshino is a very unique character. There's not much character specifically in the striker slot that can do what she does. Alright, so there are going to be some, like Hifumi for example, she also has something similar. When you activate her Pororo, she can also do a little bit of cost recovery, but this one only lasts for 5 seconds, right? Whereas Swimsuit Hoshino lasts for way longer, and also she is quite tanky as well, and she's also able to help you to give buffs to your team. So that's pretty much straight up just giving her way more value above everyone else. Now another student, in my opinion, I would say for you to try to obtain as a fast student is going to be the other special student that we have. We have two special students. One is going to be Swimsuit Nagisa. One more is going to be Rio herself. Now Rio is still going to be very interesting. Now in terms of the special slot, she's often paired with Kisaki to be one of the best support in the game right now. So what she does is she duplicates the EX skill cost of a student, right? And she also applies the cost reduction by 1. And also she gives attack percent buff to that particular ally, 51%. Not the highest attack buff, but still this is quite a lot for a 2 cost, right? Just keep in mind that for 2 costs, she does quite a number of things. Duplicate card, attack percent boost, and also reduce EX cost by 1. So this makes her insanely broken in that particular area. Now her basic skill again can be used in a lot of situations to decrease defense of enemy. Again, debuffs are very good in this particular game, especially against bosses. Her attack is just, this one is just whatever, increased attack. And the sub skill increase everybody's attack by 17.3%. Now Rio undoubtedly is just going to be still one of the strongest supports in the game, so I would highly recommend you guys to still obtain her. Now she is going to be paired with Kisaki. Occasionally you might see Swimsuit Nagisa taking her slot or taking her spot, but that doesn't mean that she's bad, right? She is going to be used most of the time depending on the team comp, but I would say if you get her, your life is going to be a lot easier as a new player, because you are going to be able to replicate a lot of strats. With a lot of DPS characters, you can basically borrow their DPS characters, but for you to use your own DPS and borrow a support is generally just going to be harder and more expensive in most cases. Now, the last one, alright, the student that I haven't mentioned, this is going to be a very interesting one. Why did I save her for last? Now I feel like undoubtedly she is pretty much the most dominating out of the fast students that we had, because she's just that good. And that's going to be Swimsuit Hanako. Now what makes her extremely strong, extremely insane is her value to a new player's account. Alright, if you are a veteran player, there's a chance that you don't really need Swimsuit Hanako. But if you're a new player, you start out with Swimsuit Hanako as the student, alright, in your account, you are going to be able to breeze through so many contents. It's insane. It basically just is straight up an account booster for anyone that's starting out, right? Now, is Swimsuit Hanako a student without any replacement? Not really, alright? There's going to be a lot of other students that can do AoE damage like her, but trust me, as a 2-cost character, alright, that can spam her skill extremely often, that can also do decent damage right there, and also gives you the ability to decrease enemies' defense as well. And she also has the ability to increase her attack and crit damage. You are going to be able to breeze through a lot of the campaigns. Also, her sub skill allows her to basically spray more water. When someone else in your team uses a skill, she is going to basically get this water gauge, right? When you reach 100%, alright, you are going to get the increased attack. So it makes her a really strong character. And if your water gauge is full, you basically get one more EX skill. Alright, like insane power. Like if I have to be honest, if there's any character in the game that needs nerf, it's going to be her. Now, I don't think they should nerf her. I'm just saying that if you ask me like a random question, which character do you think is like broken and needs a little bit of nerf? I'm going to say Swimsuit Hanako, by far. She's just being used everywhere. Every single joint firing drill, it doesn't matter what element it is, she's just being used there, right? Like it doesn't even matter what element she is, even though she shines in mostly Sonic AoE situations, but because her AoE is so good and her cost is so low, you can basically spam her shots like some sort of maniac. Even if you're not good at the game, right? You don't really need to set up. It just makes you able to beat a lot of content that you shouldn't be able to, right? It just getting 3 stars in stages has never been easier. So definitely, if you have to prioritize in one fast student, I recommend for a new player, definitely get Swimsuit Hanako. Alright? Now of course, I think below her is going to be Rio and Swimsuit Hoshino. Those two are going to be very, very tight in terms of second priority, but Swimsuit Hanako should be your first priority. So all in all, that is what I have for you guys in terms of the best fast student that you should try to obtain right now. Now again, most of this advice that is given is mostly for somebody that's new and starting out. If you're a veteran player, you have to judge based upon your own account and try to see what role you're lacking and go from there. With that, we're going to have the fast banner in 24 hours, depending on when you guys watch the video, right? So I'm very, very excited for that. I'll be doing plenty of viewer pools. Hopefully, wish you guys the best of luck. So that's going to be a very exciting moment for sure. Now, if you guys enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel. Have a nice day. Goodbye.